Got it. Let's go live. Why won't this play? There we go. Oh, I forgot to send the link out. That's okay.
I have it. I made an event today.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I linked the Instagram page.
Oh, good. Oh, now I see. It is white for me. Hello to all our magical listeners. We are Marie and Kate. Together, we love to chat about mindful magic. Mindful magic is intentionally, mindfully traveling through each day, each task, every little mundane thing you need to do with a magical mindset. Let's get magical and start this episode. Such fun music. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Marie.
And I'm Kate.
And we're Mindful Magic. We have a very special guest on today, my dear friend, Joe Punahu of the, of Hawaiian Hauntings Facebook page. If you guys are not a member, go join and answer all of the admin questions so we can let you in. But I want to tell you a little bit about Joe. Joe, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to come chat with us.
Yeah, hello.
So Joe is the founder of Hawaiian Hauntings Facebook page, a thriving Facebook community exploring the paranormal side of the Hawaiian Islands. Joe is a native Hawaiian who seeks out supernatural experiences to honor the ancestors and share their teachings, just like in the old Hawaiian ways. He'll be joining us right now. Joe, I'm so excited you're here to talk about paranormal encounters and spiritual protection from a cultural spiritual lens. So that's what we're interested in to start talking about, is the how to protect ourselves and how to cleanse ourselves. But Joe, first question, when did you decide to start the Hawaiian Hauntings Facebook page?
How's it? So yeah, I would say 2014, 2013, around there.
And what prompted you?
Um, well, I was a ghost tour guide. I told a lot of ghost stories, and I've been into the supernatural my whole life. And people, if you're into that and you have experience, people seem to think that you're a priest and you can bless houses and everything. They always come to you for help. And so I did that as to create a forum for people to share their experiences and learn and reach out for help if they needed to.
I love that. And they do. I think, isn't there close to 30,000 members right now?
Yeah, we have a lot of
29,000 or something like that. And people share their stories, and it's fascinating. You don't believe how much paranormal activity there is until you start scrolling through and seeing just how many stories and experiences people have.
There's a lot of stuff on the islands here.
Yeah, there is. So let's see, Joe, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you got started in all of the paranormal stuff to begin with?
Well, I've been interested growing up. I had a haunted house, but I've always liked ghosts, but my normal was not ghosts get rid of it. Ghosts go away. We had a Hawaiian chief in the house, and at the same time, my grandfather would come after he passed away to protect us. And as a small kid, I would leave him beer. I leave him offerings of beer, and I didn't know what I was doing, but Grandpa wanted beer, so I went into the fridge in the middle of the night and grabbed his beer, put it under his cross. I didn't even know it was his cross. But we had our house blessed many times, and the haunting didn't stop. We finally decided, instead of kicking out the spirit, to make peace with the spirit and to make pono, to make what's right, where we both coexist. So my parents introduced themselves to the spirit. And there was a man buried under our house, come to find out, a Hawaiian chief, and asked to live in peace. And so because of that, My grandpa never came back because we no longer needed him to guard us. The chief was our protector and still is. So that kind of lesson I took to heart, knowing that what I do now, nothing can come into my house because I have a protector in the land, right? If we had found someone to kick him out, then we would have all kinds of trouble because of what, perhaps, right? So I like to teach that. I like to go out, explore, learn more because it's not always what you see in the movies, good and bad.
Right. There's so much in between, and so much stuff that we still don't know. Even people who claim to be experts, you can't know everything. Can't, yeah. So what was the very first experience that you can remember? Very first paranormal experience. It just made you a believer, like unrefutable. Is that the right word? Unrefutable? Irrefutable? Oops. Public school.
I would say more like as an adult, more conscious. I had a lot of different experiences. As a child, you just kind of, your imagination is your world, and so you kind of take that as into play. But as an adult, out of high school, we went ghost hunting, a bunch of friends, and we had gone to this really haunted place in Kaneohe, and that we had called Morgan's Corner in Kaneohe. Very infamous, very dark road, closed off. Nobody likes to go there. It's on the base of the Pali where lots of warriors fell 900 feet to their death, and their bones still are. It's that kind of energy, right? We were walking up, and then something came out and like flew a stick, scratched my friend, and just a whole bunch of different things. That we turned around, and we joined the group because we had split off. And then, as the group, we ran back. And I remember I was in the back of my friend. He kept shining the light in the bush because something in the California grass kept moving with us. Right, you can hear the footsteps in the bush and the grass moving. And I told him, don't shine the light in the bush unless you want to see something, unless you're ready to see something. Because if you're gonna look, no cry to me when you see them. Huh?
You better be ready.
So, yeah, so the bush shook again, and he shined his light in the bush, and about 7 feet off the ground was this old woman's face, and she kind of glared at us, gave us stink eye, and then we just ran. We just booked it, and it's you dummy, right? So we saw that face.
Wow.
She had followed me home. She had followed me because at my job about a week later, I was a shuttle driver. She was in the backseat of my van after I dropped everybody off.
Ooh, chicken
Wow.
skin.
Like I turned around, I looked in the rearview mirror, and I actually thought
Yeah.
I was gonna drop off a passenger in Waikiki. I see this lady sleeping like that,
Ooh.
and I look, there's nobody there, and I'm like, oh hell no.
That's like a movie.
I know. Oh, I have chicken skin all over.
So I find out 2008 when I start doing the ghost tours. Uncle Joe takes us there, the guide, to that same place where all this happened. I had to go back on, and put her back and tell her to stay away. But then he shared the story of an old lady that was murdered there. I looked it up, and that was the same lady in the newspaper in 1947, Therese Wilder.
Wow.
That was
Right.
Therese Wilder's face. I'm like, wow. That was the lady in my van. That was the lady whose face we saw floating above the bush. That was irrefutable.
Yes. Wow.
And the fact that you and your friend both saw the face, that's amazing.
Yeah. I like to be in groups. I've been in the mental hospital long enough that I like to know I'm not going crazy. These things happen. It's to everybody, not me.
Yeah. And so, tell us about Glenn Grant. Everybody in the islands, when you talk about ghost stories, everybody, conjures up the image of Glenn Grant. Tell us about Glenn Grant and if he was an inspiration for you.
Glenn Grant, I grew up reading books, the Obake Files, just basically it's a collection of ghost stories from people who live here, the locals, whether you're Japanese, Hawaiian, American, whatever. Glenn Grant came from California, and he came over here and did such an amazing job showing respect to every culture and every story. You could tell in his writing, he had nothing but admiration. And so, as I said, it's reflected in his writings. He started doing the ghost tours. I never got a chance to meet him or do one of his tours, but he definitely affected my perspective growing up with some of the amazing stories he would share. We would go everywhere. Everywhere I would go, I would bring the book Obaki Files. We'd be camping out. We black plate, read some ghost story books. Um, he made it acceptable in Hawaii. Well, he let it, because like in Hawaii, you got the Japanese, you got the Chinese, you got the Filipino, you got all these cultures. He made it okay to talk about. Here's a professor, a professor at the University of Hawaii that's not just talking about ghosts and spirits of different cultures, but he had a group of people that would go out ghost hunting with him, to seek it and to learn. That was awesome, that he put his reputation and everything on the line. He inspired me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. He inspired a lot of people. What an amazing man. Yeah. Nobody will ever give up their Glenn Grant Obaki Files books.
And you said that's a book? It's a book.
Yeah, it's a book. Dr. Glenn Grant Obake. Obake, Obake, is Japanese for strange things or like ghosts or that kind of thing. So Obake Files is just like a filing cabinet. He would have all these stories that people would share with him, written down, from Hawaiian demigods to night marchers to the Japanese faceless lady, the man-eating demons, to all of these experiences. And he would just document them by date, by everything, like a case file.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to get that book. Add that to the library.
Of that one. Yeah.
So, Joe, Hawaii has such a rich spiritual and cultural history, as I've been learning from Marie over these past few years. So, how do you incorporate Native Hawaiian beliefs and practices into your investigations?
Well, I'm Native Hawaiian, but more than that, I use my strengths from me. So some of it is Native Hawaiian, some of it more Catholic, that kind of stuff. But the strength that Native Hawaiian has with the Catholic is protocol. Native Hawaiian is all about protocol. Catholic's all about protocol. That's kind of what I do. That's kind of how I do the Hawaiian stuff. Sometimes, most of the time, I'll do protocol. Like, I will get to the location, I will introduce myself, I will state our purpose and ask permission to be there. Because you're going into someone's house, that's just polite. Not always do I do that though. If I don't plan on going into a site too much, I just kind of want to stay outside the front door. I don't want them to know I'm here, So I won't do protocol, but that kind of. And then there's a ho'okupu, offerings, which as a Catholic I had a really hard time with. But I spoke to my pastor: "Give unto God what is God, give unto Caesar what is Caesar." So you wrap up food and the tea leaf, fish, poi, fruits, whatever, and you offer to the spirits as a thank you for letting me come into your home. So that's kind of how I try to incorporate that, and just to be pono, you just do what's right. You treat them like people, and they'll treat you like people.
I love that. Now, so when you ask for permission, how do you know that it's okay? Have you ever been experienced where you felt like it wasn't okay? Is it just an inner knowing?
It's usually I don't reflect inside because I'm talking outside. So what I pay attention to is nature. The Hawaiian spirits have a way of manipulating nature. I'll stand there and I'll say, "Aloha, my name is Joe. I'd like to come here tonight to share stories. If you would like me to leave at time, please give me a sign." Boom, starts pouring. Boom, tree branch falls in front of me, or a tree falls down 10 feet away from me. All of these have happened more times now. That's usually a good sign. If I hear a noise or a scream, then I'll scream is different. I'd ask them for another sign. Confirm that, please, because sometimes it's a spirit that's asking for help. In which case, I kind of have to be there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's for anybody out there listening who's thinking of coming to Hawaii and visiting some of the sacred sites, visiting some of the most haunted sites, we just really ask that you come to the islands with respect. And we can talk more about the protocols, but Hawaii's different. It's special here, and Joe, I'm sure you can talk about some of the times when people have been disrespectful. The spirits react, and you don't want anything going back with you. There's such a huge undercurrent of respectfulness, and that's why we wanted to talk about some of the protocols before visiting these sites, before going on any investigations, before, um, gosh, even sometimes just walking near the heiaus and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, Joe, I know you mentioned some of these briefly, but what are some of the most well known or feared spirits or entities in ancient Hawaiian lore?
Um, in Hawaiian lore, specifically Hawaiian lore, I would say night marchers got to be on the top five. Night marchers, they're not evil. They don't have an alignment. They're out there doing their thing. In the old days, you would have the warriors escorting the ali'i, the king, and the ali'i has a kapu on him, a law of forbidding, where if you were to look upon some of them, the penalty was death. If you were to stand above the king, the penalty was death. So what you would hear back in the old days is what you would hear still now. Drums pounding, you'll hear drums coming from the back of the valley, see torches, hear the conch shell blowing, hot wind, a whole lot of different things. It's simply a procession, and the ali'i is part of it. And so they're making a lot of noise to tell you to get the heck out of their way. And if you don't, the penalty is death. They don't care what culture you come from. They don't care. Very rarely do people survive looking upon the night marchers.
And so
But
we
it's
have,
not like they chase you. If you get off their path, you're fine.
and the ali'i, just for those who aren't in Hawaii, ali'i is what, Joe?
Ali'i would be like the chief, somebody with a lot of mana, a lot of power. So it's
So,
a system. It's old laws that they still believe, even though we don't even know half of them anymore, right?
and so when we talk about like protecting ourselves from these things, not necessarily the night marchers, because you just got to kind of stay out of their path, and but yet some people have found themselves like smack dab in the path. And in that case, what do the old Hawaiian ways say to do?
Bow down. You just prostrate yourself. You put your face into the ground, and you don't look up. Because you don't look upon them. You cannot be above them. You just bow down. You don't look. Like there's stories of people that have this happen, and like they're sleeping in their car, and they wake up hearing drums, and all of a sudden they're pinned against their car under seat, lying down, where they're unable to move, and that's the good spirits actually holding you in place so you don't stand up, get out of the car, and then die from the night marchers. The drums stop, the noise stops, and then they're released. That's kind of how it is. That's yeah.
Yeah. I've only seen them from where I lived in one side of Manoa Valley. Late at night, I saw the torch lights on the other side of the valley, kind of up near the ridge. And then it was just kind of briefly, it looked like there were about like maybe six, it looked like little floating orbs. I mean, it was the torchlight, but and there's, it's way past Tantalus. It's on the ridge. There's no cars up there. Um, it was 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, orange lights, and then they disappeared. And I've heard drumming, but I've never seen them had them happen at the same time. So let's see. So aside from that, some of the Hawaiian stuff to help protect and ward off is like tea leaf. And can you talk about like red versus green tea ash?
Tea ash. That's one of the. I think I'm like the only person that's used that.
Maybe, but but
That
it's a good thing. It's got properties to it.
Yeah, the red tea leaf to me is more of a mutation. So I don't really use the red tea leaf. I use the green tea leaf. They're really waxy. Darn, I should have brought some inside the house. I get some outside. We got plants. It's not tea, the kind you drink. It's tea. Yeah.
When-
Hmm?
No. That would have been a good idea. I could have brought some just to show what they look like. We have some outside too.
Yeah,
But don't people
they're
plant the red tea leaf in the corners of their yard just for protection?
they do, but because they say plant and the red is prettier, some people
Mm,
believe.
I see.
You go to Manoa Chinese Cemetery, and all on top of all the graves are red tea leaf plants, right? But red in Chinese culture is good. It's good luck and good fortune, and red is very significant in Chinese culture. The way I've always seen it. Now, I'm not an expert on the history and all of that, but I've always seen it as the dark green ones are the Hawaiian ones because those are the ones I think that came first. Those are the ones. What you're looking for is the waxy. You touch the leaf, and it's cold. How I've always seen it is it represents protection and respect. So I will always carry two. But like when my son gets sick, he gets a fever, I'll go outside, grab some tea leaf, and I'll place it on his head, on his stomach, and then I'll stick it in cold water. And the properties of it is it absorbs the heat from his body and puts it into the leaf. And so the fever will break shortly after doing that. Um, it's the same way with manifestation, how they take energy. Sometimes they take heat to manifest. That's why you're left with a cold spot as this after effect. Everything gets cold because in one tiny spot is heat that pushed that object off the table. But around a tea leaf, it won't be able to manifest. It'll suck the heat right in or the energy right in. So that's how I think the tea leaf protects us. Is it won't get rid of the ghost. It will take away their power, take away their ability to manifest and interact with us.
Mm.
So that's how I've seen it. And so I've always put more value in the green waxy ones because the red ones don't absorb heat the same way. They're more like paper, and
They're
they're
very
they're,
thin. Yeah.
they're prettier. They're more fragile.
Hmm.
I can whack a lot of people with my tea leaf, with my green one, and it won't break.
Not the red one. They'll start to break for
Yeah.
sure.
I have a question about the tea leaf, the green. So in Michigan, obviously, I don't think I could grow that. We don't have that tropical climate. So if I were to find one in a pot, how would you use that for protection? Just setting it in your home with the intention to protect?
So yes, and also like Marie said, it's around the four corners of the house. How I grew up was when we talked to the chief, we were also instructed to plant tea leaves around their property, not in the four corners, but around the entire property, kind of.
Okay.
And so we did do that as well. Um, I've known people who have tea leaf plants on the mainland. They'll put it in a pot, take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in when the weather allows, kind of thing. Um, yeah, just I don't think you're gonna have four walk, on a nice day, just put them on the four corners. But you can have one plant, and the leaves represent respect and protection, and so you can use that if you ever need. But my advice to everybody else is you use the strengths that you are comfortable, that you're knowledgeable on. Like I don't use sage. I know how it works. I'm well educated. I know many people that use sage, but that's the my strength. If I have to do something with a tea leaf, it's tea leaf, Hawaiian salt, and holy water. You know.
And I think that's a real good point to bring up because um, a lot of people they feel something negative or they think they have an attachment or a haunting or something. The first thing they do is grab the sage, and you really got to know what you're dealing with first, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Where you start grabbing different tools because it can actually drive it deeper into, you know,
yeah.
create a stronger attachment.
But don't get me wrong. I have sage. I have Palo Santo. I have crystals. I have all of that stuff. As just in, you know what I mean. I might really use them. If you want to get a tea leaf plant, you guys go right ahead. Listeners and everybody else, take care of it and all that stuff. And yeah, it'll be great if you ever need it. You can always make a couple lau lau anyway with it.
Yes, they're edible tea leaf. And Kate, I keep meaning to send you one because they sell them here. They just seal each side with wax, and it's probably got some growth hormone or something in there. But
The
you
root.
literally just stick it in the dirt and water it, and you'll see it start to sprout. So
Yep.
I promise I will send you one.
I love that. I would love one, especially from you.
Yeah, that and a plumeria too. We'll see if that'll grow in Michigan.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can always dig it up and bring it inside in the winter.
Yeah. They well, Joe, let me see. I wanted to talk maybe about like some field work and techniques for when you go on in investigations when somebody, because I know people have contacted you and we've got a little group here where we've worked with each other in the past on certain cases. When somebody approaches you and says, I need help, can you walk us through like what a typical paranormal investigation looks like for you?
Well, first of all, want I want to give it the attention that it deserves, but not necessarily the attention that they want it to have. Um, Somebody comes to me with a problem, a supernatural problem. I would say more than half of the time, it's something that doesn't require um, it doesn't require people to come over there and do an exorcism on the house, whether or not they say it. It's always you have to kind of determine. And my line, the line that has to be crossed for me to go over there and do it, or to go over there and help them, is if number one, children are involved and they're being harassed, or if they cross the boundary, the spirits cross the boundary where they actually touch you, where they touch you and they scratch you, they choke, they do a lot of different stuff. That's crossing a boundary. A lot of the times, at least here in Hawaii, they're like, "Oh, I see a shadow walking around my house. You need to come and bless my house." I'm like, "Bro, a shadow is just the person that lives downstairs. The bones of the old Hawaiian guy that lives over there." So I find out which cases just need to have pono and which cases are more troublemaking spirits that need to be dealt with. Right. That's the first thing I do. And then I try to talk to them, and we spend about an hour or two talking, figure out the who, the what, the when, and where. Like, okay, you're being haunted. There's something that's carving. I saw a young lady, one of my first cases, right on her arm, had helped me backwards, carved.
Oh,
It was about 8 years old.
yikes.
Oh,
That kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, that was one of the first. I didn't really know what to do. I just did the holy water and stuff. But if it crosses that boundary, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let's go ahead and be careful. And first, we do all the basics where we just protect everybody. We reset everything back to the basics. We go to their house, we bless their house, just to get all the negative out. We make it sterile spiritually and just full of good, like using the sage, using that. We push all that bad energy out, try to close any portals in the area that we can. And then as we're starting again on square one, back at the baseline with everything on an even playing field, then I tell them how to watch their actions, because usually it's their actions that lead to the haunting. Right? They're doing something wrong that's causing the haunting, or they're doing something that they're not aware of. I had a case where this lady was in Salt Lake and her house was haunted, and she reached out to me, and so we're talking about it, and it sounds like a routine haunting where the spirits are upset, but they haven't crossed the boundary to touch him yet. And so I end up talking about a day or two later to our friend Mickey, and Mickey's like, "Oh wait, she's a sensitive as well." She's like, "Joe, I'm hearing whispering in my ear right now. It's telling me that you're helping some people in Salt Lake." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, the spirit that lives downstairs is here right now talking to me. He says they have to pick up their cigarette butt and they have to clean their house. He was haunting their house because they were dirty."
wow.
I would like to haunt some people's houses for
Yeah,
being dirty.
Right.
so
Clean your house.
I found out everything was right. They were just moving. They were in the process of unpacking for the last 8 months, and the husband would go out and throw cigarette butts in the ground. And she's like, he shouldn't have done that. But that was specifically all of the specifics that Mickey told me. I brought up with them, and that was the whole case. Then there
Wow.
are the other ones where they get a little more dangerous, and we call the whole crew involved, kind of thing. And still, sometimes we can't help. You know, I'm always hesitant to get other people involved in certain things, but I got good protection. I just don't want bad things to happen to other people that are there just trying to help. But yeah.
And just so many there are so many things that can be explained away very easily. So it's you know, it's always good to try to do a little debunking yourself to see if you really do have any type of haunting or spirit in your house. There's so many culprits like water pipes and
Mhm.
electrical devices and that sort of thing, you know, that can be explained away. A rat, a mouse, neighbors, you know, and
Absolutely. But for in regards to that, um, I was just telling my son and his friends came by last night. I was just telling one of them because they found out what I did and just talked my ear off, you know, for about an hour. Um, it's a lot. You're absolutely right. Debunking is very important. But on the other hand, a lot of things that happen that are supernatural can be natural as well. I'm a native Hawaiian. I tell people, I'm like, I hear the ghosts and the spirits and the ancestors and the wind blowing through the leaves. You know, a scientist will be, well, that's the wind. I'm like, it's not just the wind. It tastes different, it feels different. It's hot. You know, it's that kind of stuff. It's more it's more responsible to take nothing and look at it like it's something than to take something and look at it like it's nothing. If there is a real haunting going on and you say, oh, no, 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 it's something else, it's just your imagination, more harm can be done than if it, you know, if you take it potentially as a paranormal thing. And so I would just tell them, okay, well, then you need to start going to church. You need to go and do this, and you need to go and do that. You know, be nicer to the people around you. And you know what? Even if it's just the sink, they're still going to be a better person for it. So
I like that. Um, so what are some, I know that over the years, you know, you've accumulated more and more toys, just like our friend Mace, and you get excited to use them. There's the paranormal toolkit. So what are some of your fun tools and methods that you find like the most reliable when you're in the field?
I like the tripwire and the REM pod. I like the spirit box. I like the apps I have on my phone. But in terms of being reliable, the best tool you have is yourself. I have nights, many nights, where none of the devices will go off at all. And I have nights where they won't stop going off. You know, so it all really depends. I'll put like an array, like a buffet out for them. You know, like here you go. Here's all these things. Let me go do my stories. You guys want to play with them? Let me know. You know, go ahead, play with them as much as you want. I use them to communicate. I don't. I just like like that. Whew. We get some interesting reactions. Like we had a couple of weeks ago. There was a spirit that needed help that was stuck under the bridge over Uwana. He was afraid and he was trapped. And so I prayed to Michael the Archangel and to come down and help. And he was afraid of us, me and my friend Matt. And so we kept talking to him, telling him, come, you know, don't worry. We're good. We're going to help you, you know, and praying and all of that stuff. But then as we helped him, we found the one that was keeping him bound. The boss that's keeping him there. And when we freed him, that boss got real mad and rushed at us. Like I got my barrier up, right? Me and Matt are sitting down. Grandpa didn't go off all night. All of a sudden, this big gust of wind comes over, and our hair just stood on end. The REM pod went off, and both of us was like, "What the hell was that?" You know, we're just like, "Wow, what was that?" And like the wind picked up and blew up. I even walked over to the REM pod and moved the leaves and the branches, thinking maybe the branches trigger the REM pod. I looked back on the recording. There was not a breeze. There was nothing. The REM pod just went off, and me and Matt started tripping.
And the REM pod is that's the light strip.
No, no, no. The REM pod is a circle, and it's a proximity detector with an electromagnetic field. It has a little antenna, and the closer you get to the antenna, the different lights will come on. Come on. But like Matt and I agree, that was something that ran up to my barrier, and like it ran up to my barrier and tried to crash through my barrier to get at us, and that's when everything happened. Here's the REM,
Yep.
and it needs to be fixed.
So besides that, then, I mean, the spirit boxes are always fun. Not always fun when you feel kind of creepy and that says your name. I think
Oh,
it's referred to me as that girl and Marie both. The girl. It's like, okay, wow. And then, so what else do you like to use?
um, that's about it. I would like to say. The spirit box is awesome. That night we were using the spirit box app phone that uses random phonetics instead of the radio waves, right? Um, it all depends on what the purpose is. You know, it all depends on what the purpose is and what we hope to accomplish. We wanted to talk to that spirit, but he wouldn't use the spirit box to talk with the app.
So
So
uncooperative.
yeah, well, after didn't know how, and he was afraid of us. So once I noticed that something else started using it, the bad one was there and started to use it. That's kind of when I just turned it off. I'm like, we don't need to hear that stuff. You know what I mean? It was more darker, more angry, and I'm like, we don't need to hear that. We don't. That's not that being up. You know, we wanted to talk to the spirit over there and help him, which we did do. But it was more we brought Michael the Archangel down and helped him. You know.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
oh no, sorry, Kate. Speaking of like just the bad side of, the spooky side and the scary side of some of the, spirits and entities and situations. And I think I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear your story. Have you ever had to stop an investigation because things got too intense or dangerous?
Not that I can recall.
What about Wa'ena?
Wa'ena.
Patricia.
Oh, yeah. Oh God. Um, yeah, that one was you helped somebody. It was a possession that led to a hospitalization that led to her not being able to hold down water or food for several days. I felt really, really, really bad. You think you're doing the right thing, and it takes it out on the host. You know, um, yeah, we were able to help her, but it took Kai. I was the one that was able to help her back up, and Guy as well, and we all got involved. It was yeah. Okay, yeah, that's but still, you can't necessarily call it off once you start. You know what I mean? Because that leads to a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Um,
Once you engage it, you kind of see it through.
it already it already knows you. Once you engage it, you got to deal with it, or you're going to create problems for everybody else. It's going to either follow you or follow the people that are close to you and harass them. Yeah, it sometimes be tricky. That's always what my fear is, that other people, that kind of stuff. But uh, it's just the people that help me know what they're getting into, and we're all able to protect ourselves and help each other and help ourselves, and we reach out if we need help. So we all have each other's backs, and that's the good thing about that.
What's the most terrifying or unexplainable experience you've ever had while investigating?
Like unexplainable. I don't know what terrifying, but unexplainable would be like I understand how the law of physics applies to the supernatural and why the cameras die and the lights flicker and all of that, and just makes sense. I understand how the stars can align and time anomalies come up in certain areas that are known to have known to have portals where the clocks will go backwards or forward, or witness events that took place like minutes ago or hours ago or that kind of stuff. But that makes sense to me. But one thing that doesn't make sense to me is like teleportation. I was on the tour, and a group, this Australian couple was taking pictures with their camera, and as they got back, they were showing me the pictures in their camera, and then their camera just powered down and died and wouldn't turn back on. They didn't. They were just freaked them out. They wouldn't leave my van the rest of the night, right? The next stop we go, we're talking and we're hanging out and stuff. And the guy asked me to borrow a screwdriver because he wants to change the batteries. He wants to go to the store and take the batteries out and see. So we open up the battery. He opens up the battery compartment, and he finds there's no battery.
What?
I can't explain that with physics or anything. Or they just vanished. I looked on the camera. Maybe there's a secondary battery compartment, right? Maybe one for flash, one for the camera. Nope, that was it. There was that one, and I'm like, yeah, that was probably one of the. There's a lot of things that are completely unexplainable. You know, like to this day, I still wonder how the heck that happened.
Yeah. Wow. So are there any specific places in Hawaii that are particularly active or notorious for hauntings?
Yeah, where I go to all the time, Judd Trail, Nu'uanu Valley, a lot of different places. But like, I know a lot of the spirits in there. There's a bunch of places around the island, back of Manoa Valley, pretty much, Marie, almost anywhere you go, yeah.
You could, yeah, there's, and it's
Down
like
south.
as time goes on, it just keeps piling up.
Is there, so if you go for a ghost walk, are there particular places that you go that everyone wants to visit?
Ghost Walk, yeah. Maybe Iolani Palace, places with history, right? People want to visit places. Okay, that'll be like the Pali Lookout, where the last battle of Oahu took place. The warriors were forced over the cliff right up there where you go to. It's a beautiful lookout. People go to, tourists and locals. Nighttime, it's different. You're reminded of the battle when you hear the conch shell echoing off of the valley walls and that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. People like that. They like Morgan's Corner. It's that kind of dark, scary road that I go to where like the urban legends are all said to take place and all that. There's a whole bunch of places that people just love to go. Kipapa Gulch is one of them.
Ooh, even worse now. There's been a few. It was a bad accident there recently. I mean, if you start just like from Ka'ena Point and like work your way around the island, you can pretty much in every pocket there's somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We'll have to do a ghost walk when I can finally visit.
Yeah.
I would love that. So have you ever captured evidence like pictures, recordings that still gives you chills?
Let me give a trigger warning right here. I don't know so I have some pictures from Joe and I'm going to put them up. One of them is very freaky. So we're just warning you if you're easily frightened by images, then, look away. We'll tell you when it's not on. Joe, which one should I share first that you can talk about? Photobomb or Manoa Falls?
Photobomb. That one is not too scary. I like that one.
Okay, we'll start with that one. Give me just a second to share here. Okay.
And for our listeners, if you have any scary or pictures that are interesting, you want to share them with us, you can send us an email, mindfulmagicchannel@gmail.com.
So here's the first one. Can you guys see it?
Are you able to zoom in at all, Marie?
I can only do that much.
That's better.
Okay.
Now you can see it, right?
Oh, is it not showing up good? I'm
no.
sharing my.
I
Okay.
can see it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that little on the bottom is my son that just graduated college. My mom and my sister. This was at the Ward Opera, the Ward Theater Opera. No, sorry. Brain fart.
Blaisdell Concert Hall, right?
Blaisdell
For
Concert.
Lion King.
Yeah. Ward 4. Lion King came down, the Broadway production, and those three went, and they had a blast. I went too. I'm the one taking the picture, and in the back, between my mom and my sister, there's a lady and a face. I mean, my sister were looking at this picture years later, and we came across this, and my sister was like, "Who's that? Who's that lady behind us?" And I'm looking. I'm like, I didn't recognize her at all. My mom walks by. She's like, "Oh, that's Tootsie. That's her mother." Like, what? Because her mother had passed away already, but Tootsie had white hair that I could remember. To me, that she said that that was Tootsie. That was her mother, my grandmother, how she looked before she got Alzheimer's and dementia. And she always loved to go to plays and all of that stuff too. So that's probably why she showed up in this picture.
And like if I mean, obviously, if your mom and sister and son were there, they want to take a picture in front of the Lion King poster, but they're there. They would not have intentionally squished an elderly woman to the back,
Yeah.
right? So they wouldn't have taken a picture had she been there. So this is just a really great capture, Joe.
Yeah. That's that's pretty kind of explained. I didn't even notice that until, like, as I said, years later, my sister was going through all the pictures.
Yeah. Tutu. Okay, are we ready for?
The next one is of a darker spirit. It's more of an evil spirit. It likes to harass and it likes to possess and that kind of stuff. Anyway, those are the experiences that we've had with it.
So this one was from one of your tours at Manoa Falls, right?
Yeah, as we were all heading back into the van, somebody snapped a picture and caught this figure walking by my van.
Ooh, scary, freaky. I'm gonna just do a close up. So this is just a zoom in. It's not altered or anything. Oh, let me see.
So, Marie, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you see
No.
the picture? Because I see the first picture still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
yeah.
What?
It's okay. I just want to make sure. Mine just needs to catch up.
Okay, Joe, can you see the second picture?
Nope. I still see the Lion King.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm new. Let me share it again.
And now I see you guys.
Hi. They moved things around on here. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, there we go. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The guy took the picture, and there's two pictures. There's one of that one and one of the other one. His camera froze, and all he could do was zoom in and zoom out. He couldn't even turn the camera off. So I want to say this picture was taken with his iPhone of the camera screen. That's because it froze. It wouldn't do anything except zoom in and out. Yeah.
It's just a closer look. That's just a
wow.
That's just zoomed in. So that's pretty. I think this has got to be one of the scariest images I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I agree.
We had a lot of stuff going on back over there. That's the one that hangs out by the trailhead, by the entrance, like throw rocks at us, and every now and then likes to attack people. Like if they're by themselves or if they're vulnerable, you feel that's where I learned the Na'au, the center. So that's what it reaches in and tries to take your energy, your middle, below your sternum, above your stomach. Felt her do that to me specifically when I was walking by myself. There's a lot of powerful things in Manoa Valley, and I would guess she's the reason why there's a lot of powerful things in Manoa Valley. They're all there to keep her in Manoa Valley.
I mean, Manoa, I was just having lunch with some friends before this, and they both grew up in Manoa, and that's all they talked about was every house. It feels like so many houses are haunted. I know that where I lived, oh gosh, there was a stairwell that separated like the top of the house from the bottom of the house, and I was in the top. And the stairwell was just empty. It was just used for storage. And my downstairs, my landlord, they lived on the bottom floor and I lived up top. And she would call me like during the day, hey, last night, did you hear crying in the stairwell? And she's like, we just had so many instances of we would hear crying in there. We would see things walking around outside. When her son was very little, he would talk to things outside that weren't there, like through the windows and stuff. So Manoa is a very it's beautiful and it feels very safe, but there's also a lot of activity in there.
To me, that's what adds to the beauty is you don't just see the beautiful view, but you can also feel the layer of the spirit and the energy and all of that stuff as well too, right?
Yeah. Um, let's see. Where do you think Paradise Park and Manoa Falls is probably the most active if you're talking about a specific place, but have you been to Seven Bridges? That place is scary to me. So Kate, I want to tell Kate, like, what I don't it's kind of hard to find. You got to walk through a neighborhood, but it's like you step into it and they call it seven, isn't it, Joe? They call it Seven Bridges because you count seven going in, but you don't count seven coming out or something. And
Something
it's
like that.
like, yeah, something like I don't remember the story exactly, but it's like a community that never got finished. But it's like you go in there and it's like a scene from kind of like The Walking Dead or something where it's just abandoned. There's street signs that have like vines growing all over them and abandoned cars. And it's like a pocket in Manoa Valley where it's like, what even happened here?
You gotta take me there. It sounds fantastic. Oh my god.
Oh, but you got to be careful. You got to, everybody, warning, warning, warning. Just stay on the path because I went the wrong way and some Pakalolo farmers almost shot me.
Oh,
So I got to be careful. Yeah.
wow.
Not trying to bust anybody, but just if you're going to venture back there, you do have to park in a neighborhood. And so you don't want to disturb the residents that live there, but it's a beautiful hike. Um, and there's lots of mountain apple growing there wild. So, but yeah, it's just a weird place.
And no one knows what happened and why it's like that.
I mean, I'm sure the city just maybe they started planning and they ran out of money. I don't know. I really should look into it. Joe, do you know anything about that?
I'm not even sure the area you're talking about. Is that past yeah, I've heard it brought up a few times. I've always been intrigued to go, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
I know there's a place kind of like what you're saying, but that's on Hickam Air Force Base, the Kamehameha housing.
Oh,
It
no,
has
this is
houses, people come and cut the yards, but nobody will live in that whole neighborhood for the last several decades, I think.
oh, is that right?
It's
Oh,
because I think they changed the airport or so the planes fly right over their houses, but they still manicure the lawns. There's still lights, but there's nobody in those houses. And right at the end of the street, there's an old burial mound with Kamehameha's warriors there.
oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
we had a lot of experiences over there too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we've got, hey,
Right.
Troy, thanks for joining us. Troy's saying even
Right.
some buildings on UH Manoa campus have activity, furniture moving and so forth. Yeah, you were just talking about that last night, Joe.
Yeah, Troy brought that up. UH Manoa, yeah, that'll be great to go. I've heard of a recent possession over there too. A friend shared with me.
Oh.
But yeah, it just I don't know. Maybe it's the
Let me see. So Joe, we still have so many questions and we're kind of coming up on our hour. We've got a few minutes left, but I'm proposing that maybe we finish up here with a few more questions and then maybe continue this next week. Because we got lots more to talk about and an hour goes by so quickly.
I'm just loving this. It's all so new to me. I've never heard it, and it's so fascinating.
Yeah. So maybe I'm going to save the questions that I have for another time. But since we started out with talking about protection and protocols, maybe you can run through that one more time, Joe, for people who kind of just tuned in. That if people do want to visit sacred sites or go into places that are known, haunted places, that what can they do to approach with respect and protect themselves and then cleanse afterwards? You don't want to bring anything home.
So before, like here in Hawaii anyway, and this might work I practice the same thing in the mainland too. When I go over there and do investigating, I'll introduce myself to the location and the spirits inside, and I'll say my name, the reason why I'm there, and then I would ask their permission to come in. You know, like, okay, you know, I'm Joe from Hawaii. I'd like to come over here to see if there's anybody that wants to talk story with us. And if, you know, and if you don't want us here, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for allowing us here. And please watch over us while we are here. And every now and then I'll bring something like a snack or a treat or, you know, a kupu, a little offering, like candy or flowers or whatever. Um, just showing them respect and then be mindful and just listen to the signs and listen to everything around. When you leave, it, for me, I consider myself very lucky. I don't have to do any kind of protocol, or my protocol is going home and petting my dog. If my dog lets me pet him, I'm good. If my dog looks at me weird, I'm like, all right, let's go to the bar, have a drink, leave whatever spirits I have over at the bar, you know. But like my the main thing for me, a lot of people ask me this too, is how do you do this? Aren't you afraid things are going to follow you home? How do you make sure nothing follows you home? It's all in based on fear. Um, like Manoa Falls one time, Manoa Trail, we were there. We went all the way up to the back, further in, with the group, and on the right side is a cliff, a drop off, right? 30, 40 feet maybe, with a lot of overgrown weeds in the front. And so I put my back to it and I'm telling them the story. And something like literally runs up to us from the bush. And I don't know how we heard footsteps. We saw the grass moving. It was running in the air, came right up to behind me. Everybody in the group jumped up and screamed and started to run back to the car. And I had to yell, I'm like, no, 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 stop. Everybody, stop. Come back. And they're looking at me like, what the hell? I'm like, no, no, no. Come back. And they were so confused that overtook their fear. So we went back. I'm like, you guys did a ghost tour. This is what you guys hoped to experience, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, then we need to turn around and tell the spirit, thank you. Say, mahalo akua, mahalo uhane, mahalo to the spirits. And now we turn around and we walk out on our choice, our terms. It's like a dog. If you run, the dog's going to chase you, right? And that's how you don't run. You just kind of sorry, you don't run away from the ghost, so they're going to chase you and follow you and that kind of stuff. You leave on your own terms. You leave without being. That's kind of what I do. I've also heard salt. Go to the beach, go swimming in the ocean. Use salt on top of you. I've had to do that for some people who've had things happen to them. Just throw some salt over their head, on top of their shoulders, hit them with the tea leaf a few times, and they're good to go. You know, but
yeah.
just being afraid. You're giving off that kind of energy, things are going to mess with you. If you're not afraid, you find whatever reason you have to not, whether it's religion, whether it's family. I'm a dad. I can't be afraid. I'm a protector. I protect my kids. I'm not going to be afraid and freeze up if my kids need help, right? So I kind of use and channel that if I need to.
I like that. You have any other questions, Kate? And Joe, you will. I'm assuming you will join us again so we can have session 2. Thank you.
I do have questions, but I feel like I should wait until we come back. Joe, I just love listening to your experiences and your perspective. I love your protection techniques. I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, I wanted to share one more thing real fast too. You said the protection techniques, and that kind of triggered something in my head. I have a bubble around me, and what I've learned is to make it as real as you can. I have stories, but I'll share those maybe for next time. Even if you imagine, doesn't mean it's not true. If you imagine it, you picture it in your head, it's as true as you want it to be. I have this bubble that goes about 10 feet, 15 feet away from me in a circle, and things happen about 10 to 15 feet away from me all the time, but they don't come in. I gave it a color, I gave it a texture, I gave it a temperature, I gave it a smell. It smells like toothpaste, it is blue, and it's really warm. You know, and that I watch it work, and it's awesome. Skylar walked out of my bubble, and the flashlight he was holding turned off. As he walked closer to me, the light slowly turned on and got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And he walked away. The further away he got, the dimmer the light got. I'm just like, bro, that is so cool, you know?
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a big believer in bubbles too. My children, my family, I 100% agree. I'm a believer in bubbles.
I like
Awesome.
to use I like to put a reflective surface on the outside of my bubble. So anything that's trying to come in just gets reflected right back. Don't even bother me.
Mine is like the mosquito light, the bug
Yeah.
light, the zapper.
I like that.
Kind of how we've explained seeing little flashes, things trying to get in, and they're just getting zapped.
I love that.
I do too.
Well, that was an hour, and we could just keep going and going. We'll set up another time, and we will stream live again. And we want to thank Joe so much for being here. We really appreciate you, Joe, taking the time to come talk and share. And
What?
we're streaming where, Kate?
We are
YouTube?
right now,
Yeah.
YouTube and Facebook, I believe I have those linked, as well as I believe you linked Twitch.
Okay, good. And then we'll post on all of the platforms once we get this recording uploaded. And it's nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming by and saying hi, and hope you enjoyed this last hour with Joe Punahu. Go join Hawaiian Hauntings.
All right.
All righty, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right? Aloha.
Aloha.
I'm new to this, Marie. Do we hit leave too?